What's up, boys? Welcome to Fighter Breakdown, where we break down a fighter who has a upcoming fight. And today we're breaking down Charles Oliveira, who has a fight coming up for the BMF belt against Max Holloway in the main event of UFC 326. And when I first look at this fight, my initial thought is Charles Oliveira will get brutally slimed out, knocked out, and probably get turned into a meme by Max Holloway. Now, Charles Oliveira is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's coming off a rear naked choke win over Matrush Gamera in the second round. Before that, he got absolutely obliterated and knocked out by Ilia Topuria in the very first round. And no, that was not AI. Before that, he had a decision win over Michael Chandler. Fairly boring decision. There was a little fun at the end, but it was pretty boring. Before that, he lost to Arman Tsarukyan in a split decision at UFC 300. And before that, he beat Beneil Dariush via ground and pound in the very first round. Now, Charles Oliveira, lately he's been pretty consistently inconsistent, like every single time Charles Oliveira fights, we know exactly what to expect. He's going to go on that pressure, walk forward, try to land those big shots, and try to go for that finish. If he can take down his opponent, he will. Now, against Michael Chandler, it was boring, and he didn't do too much, and then he tried to reinitiate his pass and try to walk forward and walk guys down against Topuria. It didn't work out too well, but it worked out pretty good against Matrush Gamera. But against Matrush Gamera, there is so many holes shown in Charles Oliveira's game that I think Max Holloway will take advantage of. So we're going to be taking a look at that fight, and we're going to be taking a look at that second round, because I feel like this round has a good mix of striking, good mix of grappling, good mix of the strengths of Charles Oliveira, and a good mix of the weaknesses of Charles Oliveira. Alright, so this is the start of the second round. First round, Matrush Gamera was landing on the feet. Charles Oliveira got taken down by Gamera. Then he used the omoplata to reverse the position, end up on top, land some ground and pound here, and end up taking the back. Now let's take a look at the second round, because, Charles Oliveira won. It was a great comeback for Charles Oliveira. This was shortly after he got knocked out by Ilia Topuria, and a lot of people were doubting him against Gamera. I wasn't. I honestly thought Charles Oliveira was going to obliterate Gamera, and I think this fight wasn't going to be close, and turns out it wasn't that close, but there was some moments where Max Holloway will 100% take advantage of. But, there also is. I rewatched this fight, and I realized, wait a minute. Charles Oliveira has opportunities not just to take down Max Holloway and beat him up on the ground or submit him, but to land some heavy shots on the feet. Let's take a look. They touch gloves.
So a good opening round for Charles Oliveira. He looked sharp on the feet, landed some good strikes. Gamera with an easy takedown, but it wasn't long.
Teep kick.
Oliveira reversed the situation.
1, 2, 3 by Gamera, and you can just tell, like, Charles Oliveira, it's kind of like beating a dead horse here, right? This guy just has no head movement whatsoever. He just shells up a little bit, right? He shells up, tries to protect himself, and if he can land a counter shot from that shell, he will, but he just has no head movement. Unlike Max Holloway, who has some of the best head movement in the game. We saw what he did against Calvin Kattar with that, no looking, boom, 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 boom. Great head movement. And Max Holloway is really good at hitting targets, even when guys do have good head movement, like a Dustin Poirier, he has good head movement. Ilia Topuria, he has good head movement. Even Justin Gaethje has pretty good head movement. And Max Holloway was landing. So if he's landing on guys who have good head movement, Charles Oliveira, man, probably doesn't have much of a shot to not get hit by Holloway. And then you got to ask yourself, well, at 155, Max has shown higher power percentage. His chin hasn't been the greatest at 155, but his power has significantly increased. What happens if he lands on Charles Oliveira? Powerful teep kicks. On the pressure, moving forward. 1, 2, 3. And look at that. Guys. All these Charles Oliveira fans, all these Charles Oliveira hopers is what I'm calling them. They're just hoping that he can pull something off, because did y'all just see that? He backed up in a straight line with his hands covering his head. No head movement at all. Who does that at the highest level? Charles Oliveira gets away with it because he has great power, great grappling, great submissions, great clinch as well. Really good clinch. He can get away with it. But against Max Holloway, who's also an extremely complete fighter, I don't know if he's going to be able to get away with it.
It wouldn't surprise me if he went for a takedown, though, because he's an experienced.
Charles Oliveira trying to back Gamera up.
Like Oliveira's
continuing the pressure with those teep kicks. Now, those are probably going to be a good weapon for Oliveira against Holloway. And again, no head movement. And this is something that Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway have in common. I call it spinning the block. They like to spin the block is what I like to call it. And basically what I mean by spinning the block is when they get hit, they get like angry. They get emotional about it. And when they get hit, they want to return fire immediately. And that, I think, can draw their opponents into be able to, counter, right? It's like Charles Oliveira gets hit. He's like, okay, I got to land something back as soon as possible. Tries to throw a shot, even if he's out of range, even if it's not the best shot to throw. And his opponent can set up counters off of that. And Max Holloway does the same thing as well, so we'll see how that plays out. But Oliveira on the pressure. Teep kick heavy. Some leg kicks here and there. But again, no head movement whatsoever. Just no head movement. Gets hit there. On the pressure. 1-2. Goes for the clinch. 1-2-3 lands. I really like that from Charles Oliveira. Max Holloway does the same thing. Charles Oliveira is really good on the exits of these in-close exchanges. We saw that against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler landed that 1-2, tried to leave the exchange, and Charles Oliveira hit him with that long lead hook. And Charles Oliveira does a good job of catching guys on the exits. When they try to dart in and dart out, Charles Oliveira can catch dudes like this. Look, ready? Gamrot comes in with that 1-2-3, switches stances to a squared stance, tries to land that uppercut. Charles Oliveira initiates the clinch, and he's really good with the clinch. Once he grabs the head, he can land these devastating knees to the body. This is how he beat Dustin Poirier, with the knees to the body. And when guys get clinched, right, when someone's grabbing their head like this, they duck out and try to pull away, so you try to break the grip, pull away your head. But this is when Charles Oliveira lands that hook right there, boom, to the lead hook. And Max Holloway does do this, against Dustin Poirier. He was exiting those in-tight boxing exchanges with his head down and tried to pull out like this without getting hit. But Charles Oliveira can land something there, land that uppercut against Holloway. So I'm kind of worried about that. Really good job. Again, Charles Oliveira eats that shot. Tries to land. Steps in. Big left hook as he's pressuring him. Again, no head movement from Oliveira here. Teep kicks to the body. Those are going to be money against Holloway, I think. Jab to the body by Gamrot. And Gamrot's a little bit slowed down, a little bit tired here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see that again, the need to spin the block from Charles Oliveira. Gamrot landed a little 4-piece, 3-piece combo, and Charles Oliveira immediately needed to fire back. And look at that. On the pressure. And I feel like 1-2 by Gamrot, 3-4. And it's just like, I feel like when Charles Oliveira realizes he has like a strength advantage, when he realizes he can bully his opponents, he becomes an unstoppable force. Like Gamrot, he's a little bit of like a weaker guy. He's very technical, very good technically, but he's just not as strong, not as big as Oliveira. Same thing happened with Dariush. When Charles Oliveira realized, wait a minute, I don't have to respect the technical jiu-jitsu game of Beneil Dariush, and I can just start swinging punches from a bad position. I can get the finish. He kind of has like this avalanche cascade effect. But Max Holloway, on the other hand, he's a strong guy for 155. He's very strong, doesn't get out-muscled by literally anybody. So I think that Charles Oliveira is not going to be able to move with this amount of pressure like he did against Gamrot here.
And that does something to you psychologically.
And it's a nice elbow in the clinch. Very dangerous in the clinch. Very dangerous in the clinch. Charles Oliveira, no head movement. No respect for Gamrot's striking here. Literally just zero respect for Gamrot's striking. Goes in for the takedown. And then he just picks him up, tries to bully him, and then just going to drag him to the ground, take his back. He's twisting the other leg with his foot. He's threatening the choke. Gamrot has to respect it as he gets his second hook in because of that choke. And I think he ultimately gets the finish from here. Just pure strength submission here. I don't even know if it's under the chin, really. I think it's just a neck crank. Yeah. And he gets him with that submission. The second round shows a lot. it shows that when he has zero respect for his opponent's striking, he can literally just unload and do as he wills. When Charles Oliveira gives his opponent the respect for their striking, he just becomes a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit confused, and he doesn't know how to approach the situation at times. That kind of happened against Ilia Topuria. Charles Oliveira respected Ilia Topuria's striking to the point where he got a little bit confused on, okay, what do I throw here? Do I throw this? Second guessed himself and got caught with the big shot and put out on his feet. Charles Oliveira fans, I know there's many. I know a lot of people like Charles Oliveira, but at the end of the day, guys, get those tissues ready. Get those tissues ready because you're either crying or you got to poke one out for him. Okay. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on Oliveira versus Max Holloway. I don't think this is a hard fight. I think it's going to be a finish before the fourth round. I think late in the third round, I think that Charles Oliveira is going to get brutally KO'd by Max Holloway. I think the first round is going to be all Max. Charles Oliveira is going to get a takedown and the fight on the ground. Second round is going to be Charles Oliveira shoots a takedown, gets stuffed by Max. Max pieces him up. Third round, I think Charles Oliveira is going to try to go for a finish, go for broke because he knows he needs to win that round, and then he's going to get brutally KO'd by Max Holloway. And Max Holloway is probably going to call out Ilia Topuria for a rematch. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Who do you want to see win between Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway? Who do you think wins? And yeah, it's a pretty mid card to be honest, but it is what it is. The whole UFC's cards are mid at this point. Let me know your guys' thoughts. It's been your boy Dagmay. Sign up. Peace.